This next video is going to delve more deeply into the history of the First Amendment, specifically the English background of it, what people over in England thought and reasoned through eventually made its way over to America and influenced the founding of America and things the government has said about our rights here. So first of all, to review, the First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What is freedom of speech, anyway? We talk about it all the time in America. What is it? Is it referring to absolutely no restrictions on speech? Or is it perhaps acknowledging there might be some restrictions on speech? And what does abridging the freedom mean? Do all regulations on freedom of expression abridge the freedom, or only those that are considered unjustifiable or illegitimate? And is this an absolute ban on all federal regulation regarding this? If so, what are we to do with state governments and freedom of speech? Because in America, the federal government can decide some things, but some powers are left up to the states. So what if the federal government couldn't say anything about freedom of speech and each individual state could decide in that state what's going to happen? What does that look like? Again, this is all from an article by Stephen J. Heyman, Writing the Balance, an Inquiry into the Foundations and Limits of Freedom of Expression. So as he had said, in the 1700s, Americans relied on their theory of natural rights and social contract. But let's look at John Locke. John Locke had a lot to say on this subject, and he was a big influence on the founders in America. John Locke's theory sought to determine the purpose and limits of government by tracing its rise from a state of nature. He looked at where does government come from and why is it here. He said that individuals have a right to their natural liberty, quote, power to control one's own person, actions, and possessions without interference from others. That's how he defined natural liberty. Our power to control one's own person, ourselves, our own actions, and our possessions without other people interfering. But that right was subject to the laws of nature, which says that individuals are to respect the freedom, equality, and rights of others. So we have all of these rights for ourselves, but we are to respect other people as well. He said that natural law has very little power to actually restrain violations of rights due from lack of enforcement. So it's great we have all of these rights naturally as human beings, but where's the power to enforce these rights? Where is that going to come from? He said that we as individuals, we join together and we agree to form a society, a community, and that community is empowered to regulate the individual contract to the extent necessary to protect rights and promote the common good. So individuals get together, form a community, and that community then has power to look after these liberties, to protect the rights and promote the common good. He insisted that some parts of liberty are, quote, inalienable. He said that such rights are not subject to legislative regulation, but they are limited by rights of others. He said that includes the liberty of conscience, the freedom of thought, that those are the foundations of liberty. He said human freedom is grounded in reason, our capacity as rational beings to determine our own thoughts and actions. I thought it very interesting that he linked our freedoms as a human with our ability to reason, that we can determine our own thoughts and actions, and that freedoms are grounded in that reason. He condemned rulers who wanted to enslave their subjects. Don't forget, this is back when kings were reigning, and some kings, many kings, were despots. They were totalitarians. He wanted to condemn the rulers who sought to enslave their subjects in that which should be the freest part of man, their understandings. He did not think kindly of rulers who tried to control men being able to think for themselves. He viewed these freedoms as both about individuals, but also about politics. Locke said that when people enter a social contract, which we just discussed, people getting together to form a community, to give that community the rights to look after people's freedoms, that they are then giving up their natural liberty to judge of and defend their own rights, and they transfer that power to the community to be used to protect its members, so that political authority is then invested in the community. And that in turn, this community may turn around and entrust that power to a government. He did say that people retain the right to judge if the government has acted contrary to their trust. So yes, people can grant another entity the right to enforce freedoms, to look after their rights, but the people that originally have these rights can look at the government and determine, are you doing your job or are you not? Locke was very influential. His ideas, whether you agree with them or not, influenced a lot of other thinkers and laid the foundation for a lot of ideas used in government today. The next video will talk about more of the English background of the right to expression.